Do you want to put where we put it on our ranking first?
Yes, I think that's a smart idea.
Okay.
So out of the 18-something Marvel movies, where does it rank?
I had it at 5.
Number 5. What are your top 5 out of curiosity?
Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. I think it's Avengers,
Avengers 1?
then Civil War, then Winter Soldier, then the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Infinity War.
Oh, wow, that's a solid list. So we just saw Infinity War.
What's your...
Now,
where is it on yours? Hit me with it.
It's number 11.
Wow.
Yeah, not even top 10.
That's tough.
Barely out the top 10, though. Pretty sure I'm in the minority. By the way, the Rotten Tomato score is 87%.
I know, I looked.
Last I checked.
It was 86.
86?
Yep.
Or 9 every 10 critics likes it, which is overwhelming, more or less, praise, and I do not fall into that camp.
Okay.
I didn't hate it. After that ending, I almost put it as the worst one because I'm very back and forth. So
I thought the ending was meaningful, but...
why don't you start? Because I have thoughts.
Okay, overall...
I implied that you didn't have any thoughts. I'm sorry.
I thought overall tense. There's a lot of me being like... the whole movie.
Sure.
A lot of tension. A lot of nice thematic things that I didn't expect. It was fun and serious at the same time. It's kind of like how I wanted the new Thor movie to be.
Right. I understand that.
And then all the characters meshed pretty well together. I feel like they did a good job giving people screen time and making sure that not one person was completely overshadowing the whole story. Well, I thought Iron Man was going to be like the whole movie, like 100% of the film.
At this point, he's only one of their big box office draws.
Exactly. So, they did a good job distributing the screen time. They did a good job keeping you on your seat. I was never not interested in something that was going on.
Same, I'll say that as well.
And it was nice. It was a very nice experience throughout the whole time.
I'm surprised what they did with Thanos. I like that arc. He actually had a bit of an arc.
Yeah,
really
I thought he was just going to be a big bad guy who
yeah, Steppenwolf again.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, I knew they were going to do something more interesting than Steppenwolf because this is their big moment. They can't fuck it up. They came pretty close though. But see, we start with the part that's smaller, like the like or dislike thing. I'm gonna start with things I like, not because they're smaller than the parts I dislike, but because I want to save talking about what I dislike. Okay. So let's start with what we liked.
For the most part, the CG was pretty good. There were some things where I was like, well, that's a little weird. But I didn't like the nanite stuff, again.
Once you see it in Black Panther and am disappointed by it, I'm speaking for myself, then at this point I've just accepted it. It's less like a beat in the head thing. It's like, oh, yeah, saw this coming. Obviously, it's in the trailer. Obviously, Iron Man would logically have nanites if they exist like that.
That's fine.
We're talking about likes, right?
Yeah. But I said most of the scene was pretty good.
Yeah. Same.
The Thanos arc was good.
I love the Thanos arc.
I like the Thanos arc a lot.
Obviously, you can't have a movie with 40 characters and give them all arcs.
Yep.
So some didn't. But the ones that did, I really liked.
They were great, yeah. There's a few really heart-wrenching things in this movie. And I'll talk to you after about that, but one of the scenes actually almost made me cry.
Definitely.
And I'm like, oh my god.
I love the scene where Thor makes a hammer.
Yep.
That's a pretty great scene.
That might go into spoiler territory.
He's in the machine in the trailer going, Hurrah! And all the toys have him with the big axe hammer.
I haven't seen that.
All the toys. Go into any Walmart. I'm sorry.
I haven't looked at any of that. But I also only watched trailer 1 going into this movie.
That's true. Well, in a lot of promotional material, he's forging in that Heart of the Dying Star.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we're purposely keeping out spoilers. It's going to be so hard to talk about negatives without talking about spoilers.
That's
but
fine.
I will tiptoe.
Yeah.
I will do it.
A lot of the characters were badass. Captain America with his...
As always, I think the jokes were on point. I think
there weren't that many that didn't land with me, and I'm very happy with that.
And the ones that didn't land, they just brushed by. I think the funniest moments are just...
when they're interacting.
Characters realizing other characters are a certain way. For example, like when Iron Man just says... something about Squidward and that guy that killed me.
Yeah.
But then you get the times where the heroes are talking to each other or fighting each other or working with each other, and you get that interplay. And I think that Marvel knows that interplay, that's what made the first Avengers so great, is what sells.
And I think they did just as good with the interplay, if not better.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Honestly,
completely.
they definitely.
And I'm sure you only say better because there's even more.
Yep.
It's
there's
magnified.
To do it
there were
with,
4, maybe 6 or 7 top Avengers
very, very
in the
nice.
first Avengers versus 80.
Breathtaking worlds. Oh, the new worlds that they explore are beautiful looking.
It feels like an epic.
Oh my god.
There's a lot to say, and I loved...
And we can't say a lot of it, and I'm really upset.
And I loved how they handled most of their characters.
Yeah.
And I think, aside from some other obvious things like writing, directing, acting, all that stuff, then I'd say my likes end there.
Well, obviously the writing, directing, and acting is fine.
Now, this movie has an ending, and we're not going to say shit about what that ending is.
Yep.
But we can transition to negatives. Do you want to start us off? very not spoiler.
You can start because I want to word anything properly.
Okay, so the big negative for me, I guess I should talk about small negatives. You're right, some of the CG isn't on point. I thought when Doctor Strange is moving his head, seeing the future, all those versions of reality, I thought that was kind of weird. But it's only like 2 or 3 seconds, so it's not a huge. It's not a deal breaker. Yeah. There are characters that are kind of glossed over, and I'll get to that when I get to my big argument.
Yep.
But most importantly, when Thanos has... Over the course of the movie, he gets more and more stones. That's obviously made apparent in the trailer, and if it didn't happen in the movie, you'd be disappointed, so I wouldn't consider that a spoiler. But he gets, 1, 2, 3, 4... They keep building, right?
5, 6, 7, 8 M's in the bank account.
Yeah, he gets 8 stones.
He turns into
of the 6, yeah. But no, so he keeps building his gauntlet full of stones. At some point, you gotta figure, with maybe 2 or 3 or even 4, which he had stones, you could just wipe out half the life in the universe conceivably. He got the... I can't say what he got. But he got a stone that could make it really simple.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say which stone that is. But he got one that where, like, if you think about it at all, and he's a smart guy, and at one point he has a lot of knowledge, and I won't elaborate on that either, but he's a smart guy, and he has all this power, literally infinite power in certain realms. It's weird words to say in a sentence. But, like, once you have 4 or 5, do you really need the 6th?
Yes.
To snap your fingers? I disagree.
Yes.
I disagree.
That's how the lore in the comics does it, so.
But, like, for example, and I'm not going to say that he has the Reality Stone or doesn't, but if one did have the Reality Stone, they could do that. If one did have the Time Stone, they could do that. And he has one or both of those during the movie, and I won't say which. Again, I'm very tiptoeing right now, but any of those stones he could use to...
Yeah, it's... But...
So if this is his almighty quest, the one that he's devoted his entire life to, why would he take the longest way to get there? And once he does, if he did wipe out Half-Life of the Universe with only a couple stones or so, it'd make getting the rest way easier.
That's true.
So, I don't know. There's a flaw in that plan. But that's not the biggest negative for me, because that's more of like a plot hole where it's like, okay, well, it's a superhero.
Well, you have to.
Yeah, sometimes you have to
see how it works in the comics or whatever.
Yeah, you gotta suspend a little disbelief. Oh, before we get to big dislike, I want to say, Thor in the third act, huge like one of the best parts of the movie.
That was definitely.
I forgot to mention that in my likes, but Thor in the third act, and I won't say anything more than those 5 words, but Thor in the third act is
really cool,
absolutely beautiful. Hold on, I'm not done.
There were some good characters. I wanted to talk about like the best character. I don't know. It's hard to say the best character in the movie because it was just there were so many good moments by good characters,
great moments,
and that's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm. So
you didn't like the ending, did you?
I borderline hated the ending, but that's not what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
I'm going to save talking about the ending and why I hated it for spoiler review because there's nothing I can say that's not being considered spoilers. Or if I do avoid spoilers talking about it, I won't convey equally enough why I feel this way. So we're going to save that for a spoiler review. But on a more broad sense, with this 2 hour and 40-something minute movie...
Oh, it was very short.
So...
It felt like it was so short.
It felt like the directors were really just rushing every actor along with their lines. And I feel like that's on purpose because if you do this movie in such a way where the characters have their moments and you really have these scenes fleshed out and you really have these moments that are like could be way more powerful than they are, the movie would be probably 3 or 4 hours long.
Yeah.
And I feel that. At the same time, I don't really criticize them for doing what they did because in their situation with all these characters that I'm sure Marvel is like, you can't leave anyone out. You got to give everyone their favorite character at least once. And I feel the pressures as far as that goes, so I'm not going to neg too much on that. But I thought the inclusion of every single character in the MCU thus far and putting them all in the marketing, or at least most of them, and having them handled in the way that they were, most characters individually, if you look at their story, is just, hey, it's me, I'm saying something funny. Wait, third act they show up and fight, movie ends. That's half the characters in the movie. No pun intended on half the life in the universe. But half the characters in the movie are 2 or 3 lines, 1 or 2 of which is a joke, and then they're in the third act fighting. You know, that's most of them.
Yeah.
It's like Black Panther. He shook Cap's hand, said one funny comment, and then he fought in the third act. And then that ending happened, and I won't talk about the ending. But at that point, it feels more like fan service than it does a story. And I know you can't give every single character an arc, and I get that, and I'm not negging them on that more. And I hate to hold this movie to a bar as high as the one I'm about to hold it to, but if you look at Lord of the Rings Return of the King, That movie, the theatrical cut, I believe, is 3 hours, but the movie itself is 4 because it's extended.
Yeah.
Either cut that you watch, that movie has like 30 or 40 main characters. 10-ish, maybe 20 main characters, and then more supporting characters. Maybe 1 or 2 felt kind of unnecessary. Like, not that they all were necessary, but like they all were part of that story, and they all had something to do, and they all, like, it never felt bloated. It felt epic. It felt like they took what they had and they elevated it to something wonderful. And part of that is obviously the brilliance of that movie and how well directed it is. And I wouldn't take any movie in the MCU and be like, should be as good as Lord of the Rings, because those are just brilliant movies. But the similarities between Return of the King, or really any of the 3 Rings films, to Infinity War, in that they're huge, big budget spectacles with 80 main characters, and they're all doing something, and they all have a part to play, and they all have this, and the fate of the universe is at stake, quite literally in both, I think. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings in a long time. But there are so many striking similarities that, to me, if you compare them, one dwarfs the other. No pun intended, because Peter Dinklage is in it, and I love his scenes. Again, back to that, I feel as though Marvel was backed into a corner. If this movie kept its original title of Avengers Infinity War Part 1, I'd be more forgiving. Because as a movie on its own, I found a lot of the story to be really weak. I found it derivative, which sure, and the universe, you gotta save the universe. I get that. That's in every super movie, more or less. But aside from the ways that they handled the characters in it, I thought the story kind of fell. And the ending is ballsy, and I won't say more, but I felt like as its own movie did not fit. It did not fit with the tone and the style in which every other line of dialogue was. Not every other line of dialogue is a joke.
Yeah,
Thor
because
Ragnarok
there's
is
actually
like that.
a lot of serious moments in this film, but a ton.
That's true, and I gotta say the serious moments in the movie, the ones, for example, Star-Lord talking to Thanos, and I won't say more, but when he's talking to Thanos on Titan, because this, it's on Titan, obviously it's in the trailers and stuff, but when he's talking to Thanos on Titan, and it's like such like a gravity, heartfelt moment.
Those are the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah, but I thought in like the past 5 minutes before that, they were all like bantering, aside from all the action that happened, and it opens with a huge emotional moment. The movie opens with this thing that just tears your heart out. Like, oh my god, they just did that. That's how you're starting Avengers. Wow, that's incredible. And then, like, you cut to Tony Stark on Earth talking to Pepper, like, oh man, I'm gonna be a good guy. Look how great I am. I'm a good guy. I got my heart thing. And then Doctor Strange shows up, and they're like, I gotta save the universe. I'm sorry, I shouldn't go more into plot. But it felt so jokey, like your classic Marvel fare. And this is something that Guardians of the Galaxy did really well.
That's true, yeah.
They balanced the tone of that movie to be comedic overall, but have those heartfelt moments.
Well, that's because I think James Gunn, if given a little bit more control over how the characters interacted with each other, would have made it,
definitely
would have elevated it. He really knows what he's doing in that market.
Exactly, and I feel like in the context of Infinity War, see, Thor's problem was that the emotional moments had no gravity. Infinity War, the emotional moments have gravity, but they're contrasted with a comedy. You know what I mean? And I feel like Marvel has blended that tone and style so well for 10 years that it's weird that in their big, huge payoff movie that they kind of dropped the ball on that.
I wouldn't necessarily say drop the ball, because in a lot of tragedy you can find comedy, and in a lot of comedy you can find tragedy. But the comedy
wasn't tragedy based.
Yeah,
it wasn't Gallows
exactly.
Humor.
So that's the thing about that is I felt like if more of the funny things were a little bit more intertwined with how the characters interacted with each other instead of more jokes, then it would have been like a Guardians of the Galaxy where the characters interact. It's the best parts of the movie. Every single time the characters interacted for comedy, it was great, and it had moments for the plot, or it had moments for the characters, and it had a good interplay. And the jokes, while most of them didn't really miss. It wasn't like Thor Ragnarok where half of them miss, half of them hit.
Marvel's good at making relatively funny jokes.
It wasn't like in Black Panther when she said, "What are those?" and made me not want to watch more of the movie.
Yeah, that was bad. Going off of tones and styles and moments in movies, the scene where Thor is talking to Rocket about everything that he's lost, and Rocket's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "I got nothing left to lose." That moment was way more emotional than any scene in Ragnarok.
Oh,
and I'm gonna spoil Ragnarok. Turn it off in 3, 2, 1. But his dad dies. He loses his hammer. It blows up. Someone else, I think, also
he has to kill his sister.
He has to kill his sister after his dad died by her hands.
And didn't Loki die again in Ragnarok?
Quote unquote dies every movie.
He dies every movie.
You're right. But yeah, Ragnarok. All this incredible dramatic weight stuff happens to Thor, and it was so glossed over. It was a comedy. Taika Waititi made a comedy, and I don't blame Taika Waititi because the studio
he's a comedy actor.
Yeah, the studio got someone who directs comedies and say make a comedy, and he said okay. You know, he did exactly what they wanted him to,
and it's not like it's a bad movie. It's just not what you expect the movie to be.
Exactly. Infinity War, that moment with Thor and Rocket back and forth
was great. That's one of the best scenes in the movie.
That's what I was waiting for in Ragnarok, where he's just sitting there and he's just mourning what happened to him.
Because it's a tough thing.
It's a horrible thing that should happen. And he loses everyone. He talks about the past 10 years of Marvel and all the family members that have lost his mom, his dad, like all these things happen to him, and it's just heartbreaking because he lost his hammer. But I don't know, in Ragnarok it felt so jokey, and now I got that, and on that level I like this more than Ragnarok by quite a bit.
Oh yeah, of course.
But as far as the way the movie is made, it pales in comparisons to Avengers, to Winter Soldier, to Iron Man, to Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, even Civil War, even Doctor Strange.
Well, Civil War was a really good movie.
Yeah. Even Age of Ultron I thought was better handled, which is weird to say, and I might change my opinion tomorrow. I'm still kind of shook by the ending. But
I think watching the whole movie again and then assessing the ending would be better.
Yeah.
I personally, with the ending for me, and I know you don't like it right now, but I think the ending was just very ballsy. I didn't expect them to even attempt it. Has no weight because I know next movie it'll be fun.
That's another thing where it's like, I can't say why I agree with you wholeheartedly on the thing you just said,